Welcome, everyone, to another episode of In the Divide. Um, we're bringing all things crypto together with Algo. Want to thank you for coming. This here is going to be another breakdown. This is a video of Sam Bankman Fried as he's doing his tour to try to mitigate some of his other earlier missteps in trying to lay a platform, a roadway, some ground to hopefully his defense of being a dim-witted doofus who just all shucks and misappropriated his way into losing and not having a great business sense. This is what he's doing. He doesn't have all of a sudden. He's not the Wonder Boy. He didn't know this. He didn't have the calculations. He didn't have didn't have the knowledge or the appropriate information in front of him. I don't know who did. This is a whole framing thing where there's going to be a scapegoat that comes out of this whole thing that the butler did it, the accountant did it, the financial, everybody's going to be trying to point the finger at someone else. But I want to kind of share some things as I want you to see some of this, and I'm going to show you some things.
Is that you are a young man who made a series of terrible, very, very bad decisions. The less generous view is that you have committed a massive fraud, that this is a Ponzi scheme, a manipulation of the system. And I want to start there because I think that there's so many people who have that question.
I want you to pay attention to something very key. This guy, I don't know if he's in on it, the reporter or the New York Times, but this man has given a lot of people a lot of money. And I think at this point, these people, and he's been in a position now of being in the hands of handlers, people who already have talked to him. This is what you do, this is what you say. And when he looks down, he's looking at notes. He's looking at things that supposed to be said when people say this. Look at his eyes when he's answering questions. When you're coming up with something, usually you can have a glance away as your mind thinks of things up to the left. When you're making contact, you're thinking, you're accessing your brains in different parts of your brain. When you look down, it's reading. Okay, you're trying to find a place where you need to pick up to answer whatever questions that they're throwing at you. Pay attention.
Which is, what is this, and what did happen?
Yeah, look, thanks for having me. And at the end of the day, I was CEO of FTX, and that means whatever happened, whenever it happened, I had a duty. I had a duty to all of our stakeholders, to our customers, our creditors. I had a duty to our employees, to our investors, and to the regulators of the world to do right by them, to make sure the right things happened at the company. And clearly, I didn't do a good job of that. Clearly, I made a lot of mistakes or things I would give anything to be able to do over again. I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone. I was excited about the prospects of FTX a month ago. I saw it as a thriving, growing business. I was shocked by what happened this month, and reconstructing it. Where are there things I wish I had done differently?
Well, let's talk about some of the.
I want you to understand when he talks to this, the word tried. I never tried. I never intentionally. Words like these things are legal words to make sure you don't admit culpability. Give yourself an out. I did do these things, but I never tried. That was never my purpose, even though that was his purpose. I don't think he went to sink the thing. I think he was smart, thought he was smart enough that he can keep this thing afloat. But he did all the things that he did, and they were intentional. They were intentional. He knows they were intentional. All this is political and legal cover.
The things you would want to have done differently. But I don't want this to be an abstraction for folks because it's a lot of big numbers and often doesn't feel human. One of the letters I got, I want to read to you, Sam, because it's from a gentleman who said that he lost his life savings. And the subject line is Sam Bankman-Fried stole $2 million from me. It says, Andrew, can you please ask SBF why he decided to steal my life savings and the $10 billion more from customers to give to his hedge fund, Alameda? Can you ask him why his hedge fund was leveraging long all of these S coins? I'm going to keep it polite for the kids. Please ask him if he thinks what happened was fraud. These are the kinds of letters that I've been getting repeatedly over the past several days. What do you tell this man?
Yeah. I mean, I'm deeply sorry about what happened. Here's, the long and short of what happened. And I'll start by saying, just to make a distinction here, you look at the US platform, you look at the international platform. The US platform is a US regulated platform with American users. To my knowledge, that's fully solvent, that's fully funded. And, I believe that withdrawals could be opened up today and everyone could be made whole from that none of these problems plague the US platform. Then you look at the international platform, where they're non-US users. And as the letter says, Alameda Research did have a long position. And the international platform, it's a margin trading platform, it's a derivatives platform. It's a platform where all the clients were, going on, placing something as collateral and using that to put on a position, whether that's a futures position, a spot position, a borrow. And what the exchange was storing was the collateral from all of those positions. Alameda Research was, one of those that put on positions there. And as I try and reconstruct this, over the last month, I have limited access to data, but my view of it, from what I have been able to see, is roughly that, basically, look, a year ago, Alameda had, I think, something like 10% leverage.
Hold on, let me tell you something. I'm gonna translate. For some reason, I have found that I have picked up a third language. Okay, I speak English, French, and Sam Bankman-Fried. Let me tell you what he's saying. The U.S. regulators and auditors didn't allow me to manipulate the FTX USA, but the people in Bahama was so crooked where I was able to bribe and I was able to deceive because their system of governments and checks and balances was like mozzarella cheese with so many holes in it. It had so many holes with cheese. It had holes with hands. So all the holes had people's hands in it. So I just need to put something green in it and all these things would go away. People would turn their heads. So basically, this is the fault of situations where the market, the place that I chose to put my international company was so corrupt and so inept that I couldn't help but to try to take advantage of the situation. And by the time I knew I could do anything, it was already too late. I had already over leveraged myself and there was no way I could turn it around. And that's in a nutshell. So those who don't know, I just told you and summed up what he's trying to say.
Had something like 10 times the assets of the position that it had on. Over the course of the last year, there were a number of market crashes that drove the value of those assets down and the leverage up. I think it was, to my knowledge, still under 2x leverage, as of a month ago. You look at what happened this month, And, in a few days, all out, fair assault, which led to a total market collapse in a pretty short period of time, no bid-side liquidity. I think more than $10 billion wiped off in the matter of days. And realistically speaking, no ability for FTX to be able to liquidate that position and generate everything that was owed.
But I think the bigger question is where Alameda got the loan from, which is to say that there is a view that this is about commingling of funds. And in that letter that I just read you, this gentleman actually copy and pasted the terms of service for FTX into the email. And I just want to read you this. It says, none of the digital assets in your account are the property of or shall or may be loaned to FTX Trading. FTX Trading does not represent or treat digital assets in users' accounts as belonging to FTX Trading. How is it possible that Alameda had this loan of such a large size?
So
our entire world is in grave danger. I want you to come with me on an expedition.
I'm not my father.
there is that piece from the terms of service, but there were a number of other parts of the terms of service and a number of other parts of the platform on top of that. There is the borrow lending facility, where users were lending billions of dollars
With your separate firm.
I didn't knowingly commingle funds. And again, one piece of this, you have the margin trading. You have, customers borrowing from each other. Alameda is one of those. I was frankly surprised by how big.
All right, so I got to stop it here again. I never knowingly commingled funds. I want you to understand what he's just said, that other people and customers and Alameda, okay, he referenced them all like they were normal business partners, where Alameda shouldn't have been a person even involved in the borrowing of any funds of FTX. There should have been a separate. So for him to say, I never intentionally commingled funds, the fact that he would mention Alameda with regular creditors and regular retailers goes to show that he was definitely liable and knew that the funds was commingled with Alameda.
Alameda's position was, which points to another failure of oversight on my part, and failure to appoint someone to be chiefly in charge of that. But I wasn't trying to commingle funds.
Let me ask you this. The Wall Street Journal reported that Carolyn Ellison told Alameda staffers that Alameda used FTX client funds to cover loans that were being recalled because of the Luna-triggered credit crunch. Carolyn says that she, Sam, Gary were aware of this. How do you square that with what you originally said over Twitter, that this was an $8 billion accounting mistake?
So I'll point to two things. And first of all, obviously, I don't know what anyone else is thinking here. I can only talk about it from what I know, from what I knew. And a lot of this is reconstructing it over the last month. I have limited access to data, but what it seems like happened is in the middle of the year, a lot of, most of the borrow lending desks in the space blew out or closed down. And it seems like Alameda had, margin positions opened with them, and that it likely moved a bunch of that over to FTX this year when they shut down. And that means, I think it was over collateralized positions, but positions that involve substantial size and substantial US dollar size on the borrow side. In terms of the accounting mistake.
Okay, I'm stopping here because I want you to notice two things. Not only the looking down, but if you look at the arm that's on the left side here, his leg is shaking. Usually you're shaking because you're nervous and things of that nature. He's shaking because, of course, you're it's a big telltale sign that if you're lying. Anybody who knows poker and just read people, you have tails. Your body reacts in certain ways when you're in a heightened situation. It's not a thought process. You don't think about it. Your body just does this. If you see any of his interviews, I want you to notice, and like I said, he's reading his notes and the things that is in front of him. This whole interview is very soft and it's very structured to try, I think, to frame Sam as as the bumbling idiot, the person who was in over his head, trying to take some of the viciousness of the billionaire status of, oh, he's just it's just a Ponzi scheme. You're trying to get him away from being associated with those who are blackened with the name, like a Bernie Madoff with the Ponzi scheme on Enron. You're trying to soften his image here. And this is what the New York Times, this is what this interview is about, is softening the public image of this man, this young man who meant the best for it, but just was in over his head and made some terrible mistakes and lost $32 billion. And somehow it wasn't his fault. He just didn't know. Don't buy it.
Again, looking through what happened, I think that there is a substantial discrepancy between what the financials were, what the audited financials were, the true financials, what the exchange understood. All of that was consistent, versus what the dashboards that we had displayed for Alavida's account there, which substantially under displayed the size of that position. And so that's one of the reasons that I was surprised when we dug into everything at how big that position had become.
There's a generous view, and the generous view is that you are a young man.
Okay, so that's that. Let me stop sharing here and get back to the simple terms. This was egregious. This man has now friends in high places because his mom, his affiliation, and the money he spent. And now I want you to pay attention to everything that's going on, because I want the crypto world to understand we cannot let this go. We cannot let this go unpunished. This needs to be tried to the fullest extent of the law. We can't have other people thinking that they can do the same thing, that there's a blueprint to get away. This man got money hidden. This man talking about he only have $100,000. There's money this man has hidden in crypto. He ain't worried about it. He got millions of dollars somewhere hidden in crypto, allegedly. These are allegations. I'm not saying he did it, but he did it. You understand what I'm saying? Legally, I can't tell you that he's going to be convicted, but I'm just saying that we in the crypto community should be in a position to make sure, if you got a congressman, a senator, or someone that you have the ear, make sure this man finds his way behind bars, because you know he got money when he gets out. It's hidden. Crypto is the perfect place to hide money. I'm just telling you right now, this is Sam Houston, hoping that your tomorrows are better than your today. Keep an eye out, keep your bag safe, and have a wonderful day. And I'm out.